I think in life, we sometimes have a habit of getting caught up in all of the big things, focusing on these massive problems in our lives, or these massive successes, or just all of the major factors that influence your behavior on the day to day. And it's easy to, because the big things are the big things, you know what I mean? They seem like the most natural parts of your life to dwell upon, and if you are in a place where you want to start improving your life, it seems like changing the big things is going to be, the best way to do that. It's going to be the most direct route to transforming your life into something more along the lines of what you want. But kind of what I've realized over the years is that the small things add up. The small things are the things that really count. Many times throughout my life, I've looked at the state of my life, I've looked at where my, future is heading, and I was not comfortable with it. I was not happy with it. I was like, okay, I'm in a rut, clearly. I'm not making forward progress. I need to change something about my life, and in those moments, I was always filled and inspired with this fire to, change everything all at once. Maybe I was on my phone too much, so I decided to do a full dopamine detox, like put my phone in a box somewhere and just read books for 6 days straight. I would always overcorrect for a problem, I feel like. And I don't know if this is just me. I think from what I've heard from my friends, this seems just like a part of the human condition. I don't know. It seems like for whatever reason, when we recognize a problem, we ignore it until it's gotten so bad that we overcorrect to some extent, Or, here's another good example. Maybe if I feel like I'm eating unhealthy, I'll switch to a completely crazy diet, I'll just totally correct to something in the extreme. And if you can maintain that, it's usually a positive thing. Like, obviously, being on a healthier diet is good. Being, on your phone a lot less, just reading books all day is probably good. But what I found in my own life is that it wasn't sustainable. I would often just start to burn out, and sometimes more quickly than I would even think is possible. I would set out with this goal in mind, correct really hard in the other direction, and then find myself back in the in the thick of it, like even worse than I was before. Like, my rut would just come back on in a fury. And I've realized throughout my life that the small things were actually what got me into a better place. Like right now, as of the time of recording this video, I'm probably in the best place I've been in my entire life. I've fixed a lot of problems I've had. I've let go of a lot of different indulgences and addictions, and I've become a more productive, well-rounded person. And it wasn't thanks to some massive course correction trying to take on all of my problems all at once. It was really just the small things, like you need to make your bed in the morning, you need to get a good sleep schedule, things like that. We can often underestimate how much those little things do actually matter. I think I've heard this really good piece of advice that if you want to learn a skill, but you feel like there's a lot of resistance in the way of learning that skill, tell yourself you have to do just 15 minutes a day. And when I first heard this, I was like, that's ridiculous. You're not going to learn a language or something like by only spending 15 minutes a day learning that language. Like, it takes a lot more commitment than that. But what the person in these videos would normally say is they would say, tell yourself you have to do 15 minutes, but you can do as much as you want. And I was like, that's interesting. I wonder what he means by that. And so he would say that, if you have a firm, commitment of 15 minutes, that doesn't feel very overwhelming. Most people can be like, all right, I promised myself, I might as well put in a quick 15 minutes. Let's just get this over with. Most people are able to keep up with something like that, but I think most people, they might find in that situation actually that they want to do more than 15 minutes. Once you're already in that flow, once you've already, done a full 15 minutes of learning this language, you might actually find that you just want to keep going. Like, it's kind of the hardest thing to do is just start. The hardest thing to do is get past that initial resistance. It's like if you're going on a hike. Once you're already walking, once you've been walking for 30 minutes, it's not bad at all. But maybe at the very, very beginning, when you step out of your car and your little chicken legs are not very prepared, it might feel a little bit more difficult. It might feel like you're not that willing to do it. It's like you almost don't want to stop once you're deep enough into something. Even things we don't necessarily enjoy, like homework. I found myself, once I really get going, like I've been doing homework for like 2 hours, I could do it all day, honestly, like no problem. It's not really that big a deal at a certain point. It seems like, we are almost inertia creatures. I don't know if inertia is a word, but like inertia, it's like an object in motion will stay in motion, an object in rest will stay in rest. Like once you get going, the natural state of the human being is just to keep going, you know what I mean? Like you stop really thinking about it. It's like walking, right foot, left foot, one step at a time, you know what I mean? But once you stop and you sit down, it might feel hard to get back up again and resume that. So it's like we underestimate what the small things can do, and when you kind of couple all those small things together, bunch them all and do them all simultaneously throughout your life, it can make a really big difference. Like there's little things that I feel like would really raise my quality of living. It's like committing to doing the dishes more, because I feel like I've been unfair to my family in some ways. Like I don't necessarily like not do the dishes, but like none of my siblings really do the dishes, and so my parents end up having to do them a lot, even though they work, and that's totally unfair to them. And so many times I've had this feeling where I'm like, yeah, I should do the dishes more, like this is unfair to them. But I've always just felt like, I don't know, like that's just such a tiny thing, like is it really that big a deal? But I think setting the intention to want to do the dishes every single day, like just something small like that, maybe it's not going to benefit me in a massive way, but I think it would genuinely, make my parents feel more comfortable with me being around. They'd be happier to have me, and they'd feel like I'm helping to take the burden off their shoulders, because they're genuinely supporting me. They're buying me food and having a place, a roof over my head and everything. So like little things like that, or a better sleep schedule. I've had a bad sleep schedule for years because of certain health issues, and part of me like never really realized how important having a good sleep schedule is. Like you think, how is waking up earlier going to help me be more productive when I'm awake for the same amount of hours whether I wake up at 12 or 6, But genuinely in my own life at least, I've found that waking up early does something, it's something with your circadian rhythm. I don't know, it helps me feel more productive. It helps me feel more able to get things done, or making your bed in the morning. Like maybe, you don't even like your bed to be fully made. Maybe when you get into bed at night, you kind of ruffle it up a little bit because that feels more comfortable to you. But I think just the act of just doing something kind of like annoying, like a little inconvenience like that in the morning, but to keep your room clean and presentable and nice, even if there's no one to look at it. I think just little things like that we might not see as having much practicality aren't necessarily done for the practical reasons, but are done for the benefits you might get from that. It's like cold showers. Like some people think cold showers are dumb. They're like, well, what are the actual like benefits? Like why do it? And honestly, I think most of it, like, yes, while there is some like biochemistry, like dopamine and serotonin that it affects, like I think most of it is just doing something incredibly difficult right in the morning, like getting yourself out of your comfort zone, getting yourself kind of your heart pumping and feeling something, and I think that's why it's so beneficial. Like I think you can tell how orderly a person's mind is at any given point in their life generally by how clean their room is. At least I felt this with myself and with my friends. Seems like the times where my life was chaotic and my mind was chaotic, my room was too. And when I tried to keep my environment as orderly and, controlled as I could, it made me feel a lot more comfortable. It made me feel a lot more able to take on my challenges. It's like if you want to build this magnificent house, you have to lay the foundation, you have to do it right. You have to do it step by step, piecemeal. And, I think when people go to change their lives, they don't often think about, the ramifications of their actions, in a big way. Like they might think, of course, these massive decisions I could make would change my life, but they might not realize what the little things could do first and how much more sustainable those might be. So if you're looking to change your life, if you're looking to change everything around in a very dramatic way, start by making your bed. Start by taking a cold shower in the morning, fixing your sleep schedule, getting a better diet, starting to go to the gym. Before you do anything, get yourself to just be a more productive, more well-rounded, more, eudaimonic individual. And if you don't know what eudaimonic is, it's my favorite word ever. It means flourishing or something like that. Look it up. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.